Welcome, my name is Chris Frew, CEO of BioBuzz Networks. We're here today in Philadelphia at the third annual Philly Builds Bio Life Science Symposium, where hundreds of attendees have gathered, along with dozens of speakers, to talk about innovation in the life science space, but more specifically, the exciting things happening here in Philadelphia. I'm very excited today to be joined by Joe Colletti. Joe, welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Do you mind taking a quick second to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, Joe Colletti, I'm with JLL out of the Philadelphia office. JLL is a Fortune 500 commercial real estate services firm. I've been here for 15 years, working primarily with life sciences and pharma companies. We started working on life sciences companies before life science was kind of a buzzword, with the big institutions, the GSKs, CHOPs of the world. And more recently, we've been doing a lot of work with the upstart biotech and the cell and gene therapy community. And really exciting time in the market. Obviously, it's a little down right now, but we fully anticipate and have a lot of confidence that the market's going to bounce back in a big way.
That's great. It seems that was part of the conversation that we've had here throughout the day. This is the third annual event. I'd love to hear your take on kind of the day's events and why it's important for you and JLL to be part of it.
Yeah, I think if you look at the event, this, JLL, what's a commercial real estate services firm doing at an event like this? Obviously, we work with these companies who are the star attraction, right? We're here just to support them in their growth and their ecosystem. I think events like this are super important because you bring all the aspects of the ecosystem together. I was really excited to see a panel on incubators. They're all competitors, but they're kind of talking and collaborating. You talk about the talent development that's going on in Philadelphia. These are things that probably weren't in place, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, especially not 4 or 5 years ago. So to kind of see this infrastructure here to support the companies and their growth, to me is really, really exciting.
That's great. I've heard the term infrastructure used quite a bit as a core element to an ecosystem or a hub. How do you define, when you talk to people about the Philly ecosystem, what are those infrastructure elements that really kind of stand out?
Yeah, I think, when you talk Philadelphia, you always have to go back to, the mainstays, right? You have the Penns of the world, you have the CHOPs of the world, you have big pharma. Basically, every big pharma kind of in the U.S. is kind of within a 45-minute drive of here. So you've always had the talent. I think what's changed, or the infrastructure piece, is definitely talent. Over the past 4 or 5 years, you've seen an influx of incubation space, which we never had before. We had limited incubators, but now we have 4 or 5, and they're basically full. And that's a great place for these upstart biotechs to start. And now, with my real estate hat on, we have buildings being built on spec that has never really been done in Philadelphia. Obviously, it's a tough time in the real estate market. We have some vacancy. But when you look across the U.S., there's vacancy everywhere. And I would say Philadelphia is built to a scale that can be absorbed over a short period of time. And I fully anticipate that. Is it going to be 2 years? It's going to be 5 years, TBD. But I don't think these buildings are going to be sitting vacant for a long time.
So Philadelphia has the bench of assets, it sounds like, that in your mind that is able to get and fill up the capacity of lab space that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, even just looking at the University of Pennsylvania and what they've done, they're a major institution anywhere you look, but having them in our backyard, I think I read, 12% of the cell and gene therapy companies are based in Philadelphia. So that alone gives me a lot of optimism of things to come. If you look at the growth, obviously Spark is kind of the shining star. The growth they had, one company, probably upwards of 1 million square feet occupied. So if we have a handful of companies with half the success they had, that's going to be, very good things for the market overall. And, success breeds success. So, as companies, start to do well, I mean, we had Iovance get an approval, we had Adaptimmune get an approval, right? So things are still happening. We just haven't seen kind of the catalyst moment of space being taken down because of the interest rate environment, because of VC funding drying up. And then, obviously it's an election year. But we're starting to see signs of movement. Fully expect things to pick up by year end, and then heading into 25, more movement.
That's great to hear that there's some things picking up. JLL is a large firm, but you're here in Philadelphia. What are some of the things that you hear from companies are really attractive about lab space in Philadelphia, in comparison to other markets?
Yeah, so I'm part of the JLL National Life Science Advisory Council. Basically, we meet once a month with other brokers and other major life sciences markets to kind of share best practices, what's going on in other markets. So I think what we have going on in Philly in terms of development and the vacancy is not specific to Philly. It's going on in every market across the U.S. I think Philadelphia, like I said, the cell and gene therapy, expertise in this market, Penn here. We literally have, everyone uses rock star scientists, but we have the Carl Junes, Dr. Wilson, Kathy Highs of the world in our backyard, along with kind of the mRNA technology, Nobel Peace Prize winners, right? So all of that knowledge base is right here, and I think that's going to attract people to come here. And just being legacy pharma, the built-in talent base that's here, the infrastructure and the ability for a company to thrive here, I think, is better than some other markets. So I think that's going to start attracting people here.
Talent is always something that comes up. How important is that when you're talking to an owner or a company who's looking to relocate or to grow somewhere?
Yeah, I think when we're talking with companies about Philadelphia, yes, people talk about the real estate costs and whatnot versus other markets, but to me, you're not selling the real estate, you're selling the overall region. You're selling, we have great schools, we have great communities, you have great pharma companies that have been here. Those are going to feed your upstart biotech down the road for folks who've been at Merck for 20 years and want to go try something else. So I think kind of selling the region as a whole versus, yes, it's compelling. Our real estate cost is less than Boston or San Fran, but that shouldn't be the reason you're coming here. The built-in reason is because of the talent, because of the UPenns of the world, because Spark's done it here, you can do it here, right? So I just think the overall infrastructure and Philadelphia region is the driving force as opposed to just cost.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's the ecosystem they're buying into and all the elements that come into that.
Right.
And we've had, you mentioned too, Iovance and Adaptimmune, really good success stories over the past year. Also had a handful of 8 or 10 pretty decent investments come into the space, which I think is probably more than some of the other regions as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a good side. It's not to the levels it was kind of the post-COVID boom where, you were seeing almost once a week, hey, Series A, B, $50 million. Kind of went away for 12 to 18 months, but it's great to see data points of companies getting funded. And I'd say not only funded, but pretty big numbers that are coming out. So yes, that's obviously exciting. And with the rate cuts coming and the interest rate environment, trending downwards, we fully expect VCs who've had, cash on the sidelines to come back into the market. So, again, we're excited about, what's to come over the next 6, 12, 24 months.
You also had a cluster report come out recently. Any insights coming out of that you can share?
Yeah, I think, so JLL just released their national clusters report, kind of tracks the top 10 markets. Philly came in at number 8 this year. We've been as high as number 4. Everyone loves rankings, but, we are where we are. I think, the big things that we see, like I said previously, what's happening in Philly, we're seeing, on the same sorts of things happening in the Bostons, the San Frans of the world. I think in Philly, we don't have as much vacancy, as much, of sublease space as the Boston or San Fran just because of the size of our market, which I think actually shields us, long term because there's potential quicker time to recovery. So yeah, that's a report. Happy to share it with you. So, people want to see it.
I love the comparison to that and just the perspective that you bring that in comparison, things have been tough, but a little less tough here. And everyone's going through it because everyone's going through a lot of the same thing. But the infrastructure, the culture, the assets, there's a lot that Philly brings that is, it brings a lot of hope and a bullish outlook to what the future holds.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate the conversation and the insights and for all your support and being part of today's event.
Yeah, I appreciate it, really. Thanks for having me, guys, and look forward to hopefully connecting again in the future.
Wonderful. My name is Chris Frew. I'm the CEO of BioBuzz Networks. We're recording today live at Philly Builds Bio 3rd Annual Symposium. Thank you for joining me.